And we'll just start with like the basics and that kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just some standard questions. So first, will you please state your full name and spell it so that when they transcribe it, they can do it?
I have both Japanese and English.
All right, you can say both.
Both of them? Okay.
Sure.
You want me to state it first and then spell it? Okay.
Sure.
My first name is Naoe and Marian Yamashita. Okay, and Naoe is spelled Naoye. And Marian, of course, you know how to spell that. And the last name is Yamashita. Yamashita.
Wonderful. And where were you born?
Was born in Irvine, California.
When were you born?
1924.
All right. And so, yeah, I guess we'll start with kind of now and then go back to the past.
Okay.
And then talk about all kinds of things. So, right now, what is your current occupation?
Just a plain old housewife.
And what is your educational background?
Just high school.
Okay, and did you go to high school around here?
Yeah, well, Tustin. Went to Tustin High School, and my senior year, I got taken away. Evacuation. So I never was able to go to my graduation, but they sent me my diploma.
Oh, I see. And what are the full names of your parents?
I have one pet, and it's a dog,
Oh.
and her name is Molly.
And then what are the full name of your parents?
My father's name was Rokubei, Rokubei, and my mother's name was Shisu, Shisu, Shisu.
What did they do for a living?
Well, as long as I can remember, my father was a farmer.
And so did both of your parents immigrate from Japan?
Yes.
Oh, I see. When around did they immigrate, do you know?
Excuse me?
Around what time did they immigrate?
Well, we come from a big family. I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters.
Oh, wow.
They're all gone except my youngest brother and me. But my oldest sister was 100 years old last year, and she passed away. So I guess they were married maybe a couple of years before that. I'm not sure. But she died at 100 last year.
Wow.
And she was the firstborn.
Oh, I see.
So they must have been, I don't know.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Probably in like the early,
Late
1900s,
80s.
Yeah, the late 1800s.
Because I was born 1924. So I think she was born, I think she was born, she's 10 years older than me, so if I was born she was born 1914, huh? So they must have been married about 1912, or my parents. But he was here, as I recall, he was already here, and in those days they had arranged marriages. Somebody arranged for you, and I think that was, my mother was, I think, arranged to be married to my father, although they were from the same village in Japan.
And what village was that?
Somewhere in Hiroshima.
Oh, in Hiroshima. I see. So your father came to America, and then your mother came from Japan to marry him.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And what brought your father to the U.S.?
I guess one of his brothers was here.
Oh.
And in those days maybe they said America's a good place to go.
So he came.
They came through, I think, if I remember correctly, they came through Mexico.
Oh.
Came to Mexico and then came up to the United States through the Mexican border.
Oh.
If I remember him, my parents are gone and I can't ask anymore, but if I remember him telling me that one time.
Oh, interesting. And so he came, did he come with just his brother?
Yeah, he had a brother. I think they came together.
Oh, wow.
Older brother.
Mm-hmm.
But his, then they all, had families here.
Mm-hmm. I see. And then, so
what they did was, once they got here, in those days they had picture weddings, or Japanese call them picture weddings, or arranged marriages. And so I think they wanted wives, and so they had somebody arrange the marriage, and then these people arranged my mother to marry my father. And so she came on the boat, and I think that's how they met and married.
Wow. So they probably didn't meet until she came
that's right.
to the U.S. Wow.
Although I think from what I gathered later, they lived in the same area in Japan, Hiroshima, the villages or whatever.
So their families maybe knew each other before.
Yeah.
I see. And so then when your father came, did he become a farmer right away?
No, I think he worked for a while, and then he became a farmer. But in the meantime, the family grew, Yeah. And we lived on Irvine Ranch. There's a man named Mr. Irvine that owned a lot of land, and his name was Irvine. And he was very fond of Japanese. Very nice man, and he even hired a Japanese schoolboy from the Bay Area. I guess he had some family up there, to come and live in his house and do odd jobs around the house. And he brought him over to our house one time, to visit. Very nice guy, and the Irvine family were very nice people. I don't want anybody to ever say anything against them, because they leased land to the farmers. My father and all the Japanese people farmed on the Irvine Ranch, and they let them use the land. And then come holiday time, see, they were a big orchard, so they had walnuts, they had oranges, and they'd bring bags of oranges and bags of walnuts and everything to all the farmers. They were very, very friendly people.
So that's where your father and mother kind of started their family, was in Irvine.
And then, for some reason, I know why, my mother developed arthritis. And somebody told my father that there's a good doctor in Tijuana, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
To take that would cure her, So we moved to Chula Vista, which is just about a half an hour's drive from the Mexican border. And we moved to Chula Vista, and we lived there till I was in second grade, I guess, until I was about, how old do you be when you're second grade? 5, 6, about 7 or 8, I
think,
guess.
7 or 8 years old.
Then we moved back to Irvine.
Oh.
And I stayed there until the war started.
Okay, so you're in Irvine. And then did your mother just help out on the farm as well?
Excuse me?
Did your mother help out on the farm?
My mother developed arthritis, and she became bedridden.
Oh, so she had a really severe
So we
case.
had to, somebody always had to be home with her, help her with her, things that she had to do, and sit her up, and she couldn't walk.
Wow.
So put her in a wheelchair, and so we had to have somebody, my sister or myself or another sister somebody had to stay with her all the time.
I see. And so, in your family structure, you said you have...
Well, we came from a big family.
Yeah.
There was 4 girls and 4 boys. Unusual. My oldest 2 sisters were the oldest, and then came a brother, and then came a sister, and then came another brother, and then me, and then I had 2 younger brothers. How many is that? 8?
That's 8, yeah.
Yeah, there were 4 and 4. 4 girls and 4 boys.
Wow. So when you were in Irvine, you said you were finishing up your senior year when the war started, right?
We went to Tustin High School.
So at that time, were your sisters and brothers working?
No, my father raised vegetables, and so they'd
Oh.
help him on the ranch.
Mm-hmm. So your family was still pretty much together
Yeah,
back then? Oh, I see.
No, my oldest sister was married already, and she lived in Los Angeles.
Oh. Wow. So your oldest sister had already, like, almost started a family
Married
of
with
her
2
own.
children, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
I see. And so now you said almost all of your siblings, except for one of your younger brothers, have passed away.
Yes.
Did a lot of them have kids who have stayed in?
Well, my oldest sister just had 2 daughters. Wait a minute. She had 2 daughters? Dorothy, yeah. She had 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And my next sister had, let's see, Ben, Paul, Yuriko, and Jean. She had 4 kids.
Oh, wow.
3 boys and 1 girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then next was my brother Mitz, and he had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
And then next was me, and I had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
And then next was my younger brother, and he also had 3 children.
Wow.
And then I have a younger brother who never married.
Mm.
He's a bachelor, and he lives in Nevada.
Oh.
So he and I are the only ones alive.
Mm.
The rest of them are all gone.
Mm-mm. But you're probably still in touch with all of their children, so you get to see
Oh,
them
yes, uh-huh.
Oh, that's
We get
wonderful.
together a couple times a year.
Oh, good.
Of course, my parents are gone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. But you can tell the grandkids
Yeah.
whatever about everything.
And I had 3 children. My son passed away, but
Mm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 girls.
Mm. And do they still live in the area?
Oh yeah, one lives right here in Glendora, my daughter, and I
right.
live next door to her.
Oh, yeah, I think you were saying,
She built me a house.
yeah, she built you a house on
Granny
her property,
house, yeah.
right?
She had a big lot, so she tore down some fruit trees, and it's real nice because I could open the door and say, "Hey, Nancy."
And she's right there.
She could do the same to me, you know.
Yeah. And do they have kids? So you have grandchildren?
Well, the children, yeah, she has 2 girls and 1 boy. And the boy is married and lives away. And 1 girl is not married but works in Culver City. And the other girl was out of the country in Singapore working, but she's home now and working at home for the same company that she was working in Singapore.
Oh,
I don't know exactly what she does, but
Mm-hmm. But now she's close by.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. And did your other daughter have any grandchildren?
she has 1 daughter that just graduated college at Washington,
Oh.
State of Washington.
Oh, yeah.
And she's been accepted into a graduate program for physical therapy. So
Oh.
she's all excited.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, very exciting, especially coming right out of college.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to Irvine life, so growing up, what was it kind of like growing up in that area and with your
Well,
family?
first of all, my first experience in Irvine, I can't remember. But I remember a little bit about living in Chula Vista, where we lived until I was in 2nd grade.
Mm.
And my father did farming. And, you know, the people, they kind of congregate, like all the Japanese get together, and, you know, we used to have gatherings here and there. And then I don't know why we moved back to Irvine, but when I was in 2nd grade, we moved back to Irvine. And by that time, my older sister was married already, and the rest of us came back with the folks. And my father leased land from the Irvine Company and started farming.
I see.
And then when the war started, you know, we had to leave.
So when you came back to Irvine for the second time, was there a lot of Japanese Americans in that community?
Irvine?
Yeah.
Yeah, we even had a Japanese school.
Oh.
And a Japanese school teacher.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
So did you go to Japanese school?
On Saturdays, we went to play.
Oh. So did you grow up speaking Japanese with your family?
Well, our parents spoke Japanese, so I could speak Japanese, and you know, we were a family of a lot of kids, so we used to talk English to each other, and my parents would say, "Please speak Japanese. We can't understand your English."
Wow, so you guys could get away with saying something at the dinner table. And did you teach your kids Japanese as well? Or?
No, and I wish I had, but there was no more, you know, when the World War II was over, there was no more Japanese schools in our community anyway.
I see. So you had there's quite like a Japanese community. Was there any type of center?
Yes, when we were growing up, before we left for camp, there was a regular Japanese school. I mean, you know, building, and we had a Japanese school teacher, 2 of them, a man and a woman, and we'd go to school every Saturday and take a lunch, you know. But half of the time we were outside playing.
Yeah, just having more fun than anything. What kind of hobbies did you do growing up?
Growing up, you know, I had 2 younger brothers and an older brother. So they made me do a lot of boy things. I played marbles with them. They put me inside of a tire and rolled me down the hill.
Oh my gosh.
Things like that.
Wow.
But it was fun, you know. I had fun with the brothers.
Yeah. No, that makes sense if you had like there's the older siblings and you were the girl that was closest to the brothers, right?
See, I was, let's see, I had 2 sisters and then a brother and a sister, and then another brother, and then me, and then 2 younger brothers. So I had a brother above me and 2 younger ones below me. Yeah. So they made me play marbles, and I'm good at that now. And they made me get a knife. You know how, I don't know if you're too young to know, but we used to play cut the knife. We'd get a knife and throw it, and then if it landed there, we'd make a line, and we'd make a pie. And then we'd throw it again and make a pie. And by the time you fill the pie, you were a winner.
Oh.
And then we used to have farming, so there's lots of spare tires. So my brothers used to, I didn't get inside, but he'd get in and I'd roll him down the street with the tire. We had a lot of fun when we were kids, and then play marbles with them.
Wow, that does sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was, a little kid growing up.
Yeah. So did your family keep many Japanese traditions or customs?
Well, we always did New Year's, and we did pound mochi at the end of the year. And other than that, not too many Japanese traditions, but we did celebrate, all the holidays, get together. And then, of course, New Year's. My mother just did so many, planned it for a whole week ahead,
Yeah.
We get together with some of the friends and neighbors and make pound mochi, and the boys used to pound.
And they used to pound it and everything. Wow. So it's like a whole ordeal.
They have that here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you live nearby?
Not too, during the year I'm not too close by.
Oh, you're in Seattle, aren't you?
During the year when I go to USC, I live downtown.
Oh.
Yeah.
But summer you go home?
Central.
Where's your family?
In Seattle. I'll go, over winter break I usually try to go back home.
What is your last name? Is Igawa?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
I'll have to ask my daughter.
Yeah.
She lives in Bothell.
Oh, okay. So I'm a little bit, I'm not too close to Bothell.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not too far away. Okay, wonderful. Would you say your parents identified as Japanese American, or did they feel more Japanese?
Well, they were not. They were not American citizens. They were, like the Japanese would call them, Isseis, or first generation. So our parents were all born in Japan. My mother and father, and so is, most of people my age, their parents came from Japan. They were not born here. And so my parents were, they called them Isseis, We were Niseis.
And would you say, did your parents, after they lived in the U.S. for a time, did they feel more American, or did they always kind of...
They always spoke Japanese.
Mm.
It was hard for them to speak English, I think. Because, by the time they came here, they were in their middle 20s, I'm sure. But my mother tells me about a story, and maybe you'd be interested in this. A lady, when we were growing up, she had a Caucasian neighbor. And this Caucasian neighbor came to borrow butter. And the lady said she wanted borrowed butter. And my mother said, butter? And the lady said, no, butter. And so my mother said, butter? And the lady said, no, not butter, butter. And my mother just didn't interpret it as butter, And so she grabbed her by the hand and said, you come in, come, you get. And she said, guess what? She took butter. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
She couldn't understand butter.
Yeah. 'Cause it's that...
See, she didn't speak any English.
I see. So throughout her entire life, she only spoke Japanese.
And my father was broken English. He learned a lot after he came, but it's all broken,
Did he learn it from...
Well, from working with Mexicans and Caucasians and...
During the farming. I see. So I guess we'll go to when the war started. So you're in your senior year of high school, and then they tell you that you have to evacuate.
Yes. When the war started, my uncle and my cousin lived with us. They had sent their rest of the family back to Japan a couple of years ahead because one of their kids was living in Japan with a relative, and he got very ill. And so the mother and the two or three of the younger kids went to Japan. So when the war started, they were stuck in Japan. And my uncle and their oldest daughter, who was out of high school already, stayed. And so we all went to camp together. No, we didn't. That was December. In February, the FBI came to the home. Knock, knock, knock. And they searched our whole garage and house and everything. And they found my father and my uncle raised lettuce. So they found some lettuce knives, in the garage. And they said, well, these are contrabands. You have to go with us. So they picked up my grandpa, my father, and my uncle. They said, we'll give you half an hour. We're going down the street to pick up some other people. So he said, they'll give you half an hour, have yourself a cup of coffee or whatever, and get ready. And you should have seen my father. He got a cup of coffee, and he couldn't even get it to his mouth because he was so nervous, But they did come and take him.
Wow.
And they went to, there was a little CCC camp in Tahunga or somewhere. And that's where they were, and I remember going to visit them. We talked to them behind the fence, And then before long, they were sent away to Bismarck, North Dakota.
Wow.
And then, of course, we left. We had to leave the West Coast, too. We went to Poston, Arizona. But my mother was an invalid by then, bedridden invalid. And so we had to pay for and hire an ambulance to take her. They said we asked if she could stay in the West Coast in a convalescent home or something. They said no, she's enemy alien. She has to leave. So we hired an ambulance, and one of my sisters, rode in the ambulance with her, and she went in the ambulance we went to Poston, Arizona.
Wow. So before you went to Poston, you were allowed to visit your father?
One time they were in a camp.
Wow. And then, so when you went to Poston, Arizona, was it just your mother and the kids?
My mother and my brothers and sisters.
Because your father...
was gone already. My uncle was gone.
Wow,
and my cousin was with us,
Oh, so
my
she
cousins...
was kind of...
See, my uncle's son lived in Japan, went to school in Japan, and he was not was having a little physical problem, so his mother and 2 or 3 of the girls went to Japan to visit, and while in Japan the war started, so they couldn't come back.
Oh, I see. So they couldn't come back.
Yeah.
So then you went to post in Arizona.
And my uncle went to
North
with my
Dakota.
father. They got taken away, my uncle and my father. They went to Bismarck, North Dakota. But after, that was in May, and by October they were home. They let them out, as long as they didn't come back to the West Coast. So they came back to the camp that we were in, and we were in Poston, Arizona.
I see. And how long were you in Poston?
Well, we went in the summer of 1943, I think, because the war started in war started in 1941, so we went in the summer of 1942, and the war ended in 1945. So then at that time, I think they gave everybody a few dollars and said, get out, go home, go wherever you want to go.
So at that time, did you have to find an ambulance? Did you have to hire
Yes,
an
we had to
ambulance?
hire an ambulance to bring my mother back. And we didn't have when we were living on Irvine Ranch, we rented, so we didn't have a home to go, but there was a nice Japanese family that was quite wealthy, and they had leased out their home and land during the war, and so when the war ended, they let us rent one of their homes, and we came back there.
And where was that?
That was in Irvine. And this family was farming, and so my father and everybody went to work for them.
So going back to, maybe we could talk a little bit about life in Poston.
It was fun.
So it was fun.
Because we were just teenagers,
And some of your
Fun,
siblings-
but not fun. There's lots of restrictions, of course, But the young people had a lot of fun, and they had outdoor movies, once a week or so, and you go outside and watch, and of course there was a lot of gang fights, young people, young boys, they get in fights, but all in all, I think everybody learned a lot. But the barracks were something to talk about.
And would you say your older siblings were still having fun, or were they?
Well, yes, my oldest brother and my older sister both married in camp. Found a boyfriend, girlfriend, and got married.
Oh, so they found
They
someone in
found
camp.
partners, and
Oh, wow.
So, and my brother and his wife, when they allowed people to leave the relocation centers as long as they didn't come back to the West Coast. So my brother and his wife moved to Michigan, and while they were in Michigan, I went to live with them and found a job in Michigan and stayed there till the war ended.
Oh, so was that was during like the between 42 and 45?
Right.
They left and you went to Michigan as well.
Yes, and after they settled down, they said I could come and live with them if I find a job over there. So I went to live with them, and I found work.
So did the rest of your siblings stay at camp?
Well, no, 2 of my brothers were in the military. By that time, they got taken into the army. And then there was a family friend that lived near Las Vegas, Nevada, that didn't have to evacuate, and they were farmers. And so my brother went to live with them so he could work on the farm with them. So as long as you didn't go to the West Coast, you were able, and if you're an honorable citizen, they let you leave. So, and my oldest brother, before he married, I think he went to Idaho, and they did something with sugar beets. So it wasn't all that hard to live there. You were given free food, you were given X amount of dollars spending money a month. I think there was a common labor got $12